and of course, and University of this very relevant department of religion and intercultural studies. By the grace of Almighty God, gathered here to discuss a very important and emerging topic which I am excited to speak on, which is Islam and interfaith relations. As I know that this department and program is very relevant, which discusses similar topics and the students study the relevant topics and aspects and perspectives of various religions towards interfaith relations and all of the media. So I believe this topic and lecture would be very much beneficial for everyone sitting here and of course all the dear students who are connected to this lecture hall online. So I am sure this will be something very informative for everyone which we will be discussing today. Dear teachers, participants, and students. Now coming to the topic, whenever the relationship between two communities in a society is analyzed, it may be discussed from various perspectives. Whenever two communities are there to discuss the relationship between them, always we look towards that relationship from various perspectives. And generally speaking, there are three dimensions to that relationship. So, first dimension which one has to look at is to analyze the relationship between two communities. So, the first dimension would be both the concerned groups explore their relationship from their nature. This is something one has to keep in our mind that who two other communities when they come together to discuss their relationship or interfaith relations or collaborations, respect, love, or working together, working relationship. So one thing which everyone has to keep in our mind is that everyone thinks from their own angle. This is not possible that everyone start thinking from one angle. Everyone will look at the same thing from a different dimensions and angles. So this is the reality of any interfaith dialogue one has to keep in our mind. And the second dimension, which everyone would look at while analyzing the relationship, is when the relationship of one part with another is analyzed, it is necessary to consider if the two communities are religious and what the religious literature of one class asserts about other with whom you intend to build positive relationship. So that is the second important dimension when you come together to meet someone. One thing is that both comes from the same category. For example, both groups are religious. Does not matter which religion they follow, but if both are religious, means they fall in the same and similar category to deal with each other. Maybe one is secular and other one is religious. If they come together to interact with each other, maybe the dialogue dimension would be different. When both come from the religious angle, so the common areas to be discussed, of course, they will have a religious existence and background. So the dialogue, conversation, concepts will be changed, of course. And the third important dimension, which is to be considered while analyzing the relationship between two communities, is we should study its history and historic proof that informs us how the interaction between the two communities throughout the age has been. So now two important aspects to look at. One, the two communities come together to interact and discuss and do dialogue. The first thing we look at is if both are religious or one is secular or religious or both are secular. So one that is to be understood. The second thing which we all have to look at is basically what the literature, religious literature says about the community with whom you are going to interact. This is very important. Why I have brought this and made a one important dimension of interfaith dialogue that the main reason falls behind this whole propagation is that whenever you are dealing with a religious community, we have to keep that in our mind that whosoever religion that community follows, so when that community will interact with you, of course, the priority they will have in their mind while dealing would be their own religious literature because they are religious. They come from a faith group. So whenever they interact with you, the first thing which will which they have in their mind will be their own religious literature. And then it becomes important to see what their literature exactly suggests about you. If their literature tells something positive about you, so the dealing becomes positive and more easier and smoother. If their literature suggests something wrong, bad, or harsh about you, so then this whole process will be little more difficult and uncomfortable in comparison to the position A. So that's what I said that whenever you look at the relationship between two religious communities, three dimensions are to be understood. So first dimension is very general. The second dimension, their religiosity and what their literature suggests about the other one. For example, if we take an example of Muslims and Christians doing dialogue together, interfaith relations. So Muslims and Christians scholars sitting together. So the Muslims will come and do the dialogue while keeping in view whatever Quran and tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says about Christians. Of course, the first mindset would be that the Christians would come and they would speak to Muslims and dialogue to Muslims, considering their own literature, what their literature says about dealing with other community or dealing or having a relationship with other community. So three dimensions usually help to understand and analyze while doing the interfaith relations. Once we have a clear mindset on these three dimensions, now we will discuss the interfaith relations, how Islam suggests and what Islam says about interfaith relations, and especially as a case study, we will discuss Muslim and Christian relations. That what Islam says about interfaith dialogue, interfaith relations between Muslims and Christians. So that will basically set the pattern and pave the ground to understand how Islam responds to the relationship between other religions. So we will have a better understanding that way. So for that purpose, we will look into the Quran, the basic text of Islam, the principal text of Islam, Quran. So we will see what Quran says, and then we will look at the traditions of the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then what the Prophet of Islam suggests upon the relationships between Muslims and Christians, Muslims and other communities. And then, of course, we will look into the history of Muslim Christian relations, history of Muslim Christian dialogue, history between Muslims and other people of faith, how that history has evolved and what we see. And do we really find such passages, such links and connections, which would suggest that these relationships can flourish today in today's world? So these three dimensions we will look at. Dear audience and students, the first thing we have to understand, Islam divides all the religions into two categories, two major categories. Islam divides the religions. One group of religions, Islam considers them a family of revealed religions, or in other words, we can call them Abrahamic religions. The religions which all come from the offsprings of Prophet Abraham. So they are considered the revealed religions. So which religions falls under that category? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So Islam considered these three religions as one family. And then there is the second category of religions. They are called, considered non-revealed religions. Mostly the religions of Indian tradition, they fall under that category. For example, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, and similar Indian tradition religions. So they fall under the category of non-revealed. So basically, when Islam talks about other religions, so first thing Islam would do would divide the religions into two groups, the revealed religions and non-revealed religions. Today, as a case study, we are discussing Muslims and Christian relationship. So this is one group we will be looking at. So Islam suggests different, it takes different approaches of relationship and integration and interfaith dialogue while dealing with these groups. So when Islam or Islamic literature deals with group A, which has Christian, Judaism, and Islam as a group A. So Islam has a different mindset. Islam has a different behavior and approach towards them. And Islam more likely considers Judaism and Christianity as their cousins, in a simple words. Muslims consider Christians and Jewish community as their cousins because they all come from same family, background, and point of origin, which is Ibrahim. And when Islam comes to deal with other religions, traditional religion, of course, again Islam approach towards these religions is very respectful, very integrative, very accommodating. But then, of course, Islam and the literature gives a special treatment to the religions belonging to the same family, which is Judaism and Christianity. So, first thing we need to keep in our mind is this category. Now, what Muslims or Islamic literature calls to the category A religions? They call them the book of the people of the book. That's what the Islamic literature, Quran and the tradition of Prophet of Islam calls to the people of the A category, group A. For example, the Christians and Jewish community, and along with Islam and Muslims itself. So they are called book of the people of the book, or the believers of the book. That's what they are called. In Arabic, they are called Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book. So that's what they are called. And under that category, the Jewish community and Christian community falls. And as I have already mentioned, so they get a special treatment in relationship because they are considered a cousin in a family and relationship because they all come from the Abrahamic family. And Islam, as I have already mentioned and described, that gives a special treatment to the people of the book. They all come from the same category. Now, now we will look at some examples that how Islam is treating other religions, and especially the people of the book, like the Jewish community and Christian community. So we will look at some of the verses that how these verses are treating and suggesting. As I have mentioned already, that all these, whenever you look at the relationship, the religious community would always consider what Quran says, what the traditions of the Prophet say, then only they will establish the relationship with the specific community. So when we will study the verses of Quran, we will have an idea that what kind of mindset Islam and Quran has tried to propagate, which will give us an idea that what kind of relationship Islam wants and desires that Muslims should have with other communities. We will look at some of the verses of Quran. One of the verse which comes in Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 111. This is also on the screen. You can read that, in which God Almighty says, surely God has bought from the believers their souls and wealth in return for the promise of paradise for them. That's one verse. And then that continues. Then the God says, God has taken the firm promise as a bountiful obligation on him in Torah, the Gospel, and Injil, and Quran, and who is true to his promise and God. So believers, so believers who are God, then who the believers rejoiced over your bargain and which would have sold him, sold and them. This is the also achievement. So you look at these two verses I have recited from Quran. So you see that God has brought these three religions and name of the books belonging to these three religions together and suggesting that God has done some promise. And in the same promise, God suggests here in Quran that the same promise has been done in Quran, the same commitment has been made in Torah, and same commitment has been made in Gospel. So bringing three books together and suggesting that this same commitment was made in all these three books together, that gives an idea that what exactly Allah Almighty, the God Almighty, desires from the Muslims. So the idea God is trying to communicate to the people is an equality and respect among these three religions together. By bringing the names of the books together in one verse and suggesting that all these books, God has made promise in all three books. It is propagating the respect, honor, and sanctity of all three books together in one verse of Quran. So whosoever is sensible enough to understand what God is prescribing here would understand that God is educating the Muslim in Quran how to respect the books of all three religions together and treat them equally out with respect. This is the first message we understand from this verse. And that doesn't end here. Now we will look at some other verses in which, similarly, in other verses of Quran, it's not just the books now. In other verse, we see, which you can see on the screen, here God has also brought the names of the prophets together in one verse. So in the earlier, God gave a sanctity, equality to all the books, describing them in one verse. And now in this verse it says, similarly, it says that God names them after one after. God makes mention of all these. For example, in Surah, which is chapter number 42, verse number 13, God suggests, He has prescribed for you the same path of religion. You, the same path of religion, that he enjoined on Noah, and that have released to you, and that he enjoined on Ibrahim and Musa and Isa. And what it denotes is that you should hold fast to the same religion and do not make division in it. So in one verse of Quran, God has brought multiple names of the prophets belonging to various religions. But by bringing them all and naming them in one verse together, basically what Islam and Quran is propagating and teaching is the respect, love, tolerance, equality among the prophets. That whosoever comes and belonging to any religion, they all are prophets for Islam and Muslim, equally respectful, equally loving and honorable for Muslims. This is being taught in Islam and the literature of Quran. So we can understand from this verse. Now we look at some other verses of Quran and we will see now the importance that how Quran is educating Muslims for interfaith relations and dialogue. This is a very important element. One verse in which God suggests that verse comes in Surah Al-Araf. It's chapter 7, verse number 159, in which God suggests regarding the people of book. He says, and the part amongst the people of Moses, comprises those who guide to the path of truth, and according to that, making judgments based on justice. This is a very interesting one. Do you focus on the meanings? This is a book of Muslims and describing the characteristics of Jewish community. This is very important. So this is the book of Muslims, but describing the characteristic of Jewish community. Now the question arises, why the book of Islam, Quran, is appreciating and describing the great good character of Jewish community. If Islam was about narrow-mindedness, if Islam was about narrow thinking, if Islam was about hatred about other communities, why Quran would describe other religious community in such a beautiful manner? Someone would only describe anyone in good words if someone wants that this person should respect and like that person. That is the only reason someone could go and appreciate and describe that person in some nice, beautiful words. If someone doesn't want anyone that he should like that person, he would never describe that person in some beautiful words in front of that person. So what Islam and Quran is doing, describing Jewish community with some beautiful characteristics. That there are people in this community who are just. There are people in this community who are so good characteristics described in Quran for Jewish community and educating Muslims means communities live together respectfully, learn from each other. Every community has good people there. This is one thing. Now you look at the other verse which has come in Surah Imran, Surah, in which in which God suggests. This is a very beautiful topic. Surah Imran, it's chapter 3, verse number 199. This is very important one that's on the screen. Now, in this verse, God is describing the characteristics of again the people of other faiths. But in Quran, appreciating them, describing them in some beautiful words. Look at the words. And indeed, some people of the book are such that they believe in the Lord and also have faith in the book that has been released to you and the one which was sent to them, their hearts remain subdued before God, and they do not receive a party price for the revelation of God. And they are the ones whose reward lies with their Lord. Indeed, God is swift and reckless. What beautiful verse, describing the all beautiful ways of other religious people and educating to the Muslims by Quran. There are good people in these communities. Respect them, love them, be close to them, be tolerant by dealing with them. So this sets the mindset, I believe, of interfaith relation and educating the people for bringing together these communities. So this is Quran. If someone does otherwise, spread the word of hatred and disrespect others and say some bad words for each other, I would say that is coming from somewhere else and not from Quran. Because the Quran suggests the beautiful mindset, brings them together. Now look at the other verse. Beautiful verse. I love it. And I always suggest that this verse is a foundation for Muslim Christian relations, which has come in Quran. You can look at this verse in your screen. This is the verse of Surah Al-Ma'idah, in which, this is from Surah Al-Ma'idah, in which, what's wrong with this? Sorry. So, Surah Al-Ma'idah, and then you read it, it comes like that. And this is a beautiful words. Can you imagine this? This is how Quran is suggested. And the closest in love and affection for the Muslims, you will find those who say we are Christian. This is Quran. That Quran is suggesting and telling the Muslims that, oh Muslims, you will find the community who are more closer to you in love and affection. And that community is Christian community. So if any book or any religion wants people not to get close to other religious community, would that religion ever speak this kind of words about that community? Is it possible that any religion would suggest that kind of words about any community if that religion wants the people and followers of that religion should hate other community? That religion would never utter such words. When Islam says that the community who call themselves Christians, they are more closer to you in love and affection, means that Islam and Quran is making the mindset of Muslim that love and respect this community. They are more closer to you. And then it goes further in detail and suggests, indeed, this is because amongst them are the servants, which means the scholars of Sharia, the law, as well as the monks, who are the ascetics and worshippers. And moreover, they are not given to the arrogance. Can you imagine Quran describing the beautiful characteristics of Christian community? This is Quran. If anybody does otherwise, speaks against the community or spread the word of hatred, I am sure that is not coming from Quran. That is coming from his own heart. That is coming from some political agenda, but not from the book of religion, Quran. So this is Quran. So dear audience, these were some verses of Quran which gives us an idea that how Islam and Quran itself appreciates the relationship. So we discussed two important dimensions, three important dimensions. And first dimension was what the book of that religion suggests about other communities. So we have read a couple of verses, studied a couple of verses, and we have understood that Islam suggests the beautiful things. for the interfaith relations. Now, the second thing, look at the history. Now, we will study some examples and stories from the history of Islam and Christian. I know there are every type of history there, but then for the relationship, always look at the positive side of the history. There are negatives too. But then the people who are positive in their nature, they would always look at the positive sides of the history and try to seek and infer the right messages from the positive side of the history. So we will look at some historical evidence of such relationship, and of course, which is from the life of the Prophet of Islam, Sayyidina Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Dear students, when the Prophet of Islam, he announced his ministry and prophethood, similar the way Jesus had to go through a lot of tortures and tough times when he announced his ministry. So he had to face a lot of tough times. Similarly, Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also went through, and even the first group of believers of Islam, they went through a lot of torture and killings and martyrdoms. People, they lost their lives in big number. Then the Prophet of Islam, he basically suggested the first group who were facing the torture in Makkah, he said, why don't you migrate to a specific land, another country for a while, so that you can be saved? And then the Prophet suggests so that the first group who migrated to the state and the country which was called Abyssinia, which is today Ethiopia. Abyssinia, the first group of Muslims, they migrated to Abyssinia, which is today's Ethiopia, to save their lives and their religion, upon the orders and suggestion of the Prophet of Islam. And among those migrants, some great and influential Muslims, they were part of that group. Among those groups, who were they? One was Sayyidina Usman ibn Affan, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the third caliph of Islam. At that time, he wasn't a caliph, he was just a companion. So he migrated to Abyssinia, Ethiopia, upon the orders of the Prophet. And not just him, his wife, who was direct daughter of the Prophet of Islam, Sayyidina Ruqayya. He also migrated to Abyssinia upon the orders of Prophet of Islam. And then another great lady, Sayyidina Salma, he also migrated and she was among the migrants to Ethiopia. Later on, when they came back, she also married the Prophet of Islam and became the mother of the believers of Islam as well. So this kind of important people, they migrated in the first group to Ethiopia. And here also, the important thing which I want to suggest there. Yeah. So now when Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam suggested the first group to migrate to Abyssinia. Now look at the words he is suggesting. Something is wrong with it. Okay. Now the words he suggested about the Abyssinia. So basically, he introduced Abyssinia to his companion that where you are going to migrate. So he was telling the details of Abyssinia. What he said? He said, go to Abyssinia because its ruler is just. You won't be hurt. And you know who was the ruler of Abyssinia? He was a Christian king, Lakish. The state was ruled by a Christian king, and the majority of the population of that country was Christian. And this is what the Prophet of Islam is saying about that place, that go to Abyssinia because the ruler of that country is a just man and you won't be hurt there. So you see the openness and truthfulness, the way they are propagating and describing a Christian state to the Muslims by calling them just people without any vice. That's how they were reviewed. And then that whole group, they migrated to Ethiopia, Abyssinia, and they were settled there happily. And the companions suggest that they were never ever badly treated by the Christian community of Ethiopia and neither by the king himself. They were respected, their religion was protected. So this was the historical fact about that relationship which they had. And then Quranic verse again on the status of Ethiopia. It says, now Quran suggests, and those who migrated after they had been subject to different kinds of torture and brutality, we will certainly provide them with a better abode in this very world, and the reward in hereafter is certainly greater. Would that they knew his secret? These are the words of Quran, which suggest these are the words of Quran, which suggest. Now look at the words. The God Himself suggests and says, God Himself suggests and says that after the Muslims they have faced a lot of torture in their lands, God has selected a abode of peace for them, where a good mode, a better place for them to live in this world, and of course hereafter. And the great scholars of Islam like Imam Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, Imam Razi, Ibn Abi Haytham, and many more great intellectuals and interpreters of Quran, they suggest that by better abode and a better place, God clearly means Ethiopia here at that time. So it gives a message and understanding that that does not mean if any country is Muslim majority or the government or Muslim or not. For Muslims, Islam gives such an openness to the people. Doesn't mean if the kingdom or the government is Christian, Jewish, or any other government, or the following or majority belonging to any religion does not matter. If that place is just, if their law and order is good, the system of justice is good, they are able to provide justice to their people, equality to their people, good life to their people for Islam in front of God Almighty. According to Quran, that place is better for human beings to live in this world. So there is no specific demand and description that place should be the place of Muslims or that place should be ruled by Muslims or that place should be the majority Muslim state. Wherever a Muslim can live, practice their religion freely, and they could have a proper justice system and they could live with equality and respect anywhere. For Islam and according to Quran, that place is just for everyone. So this is what Quran is suggesting here. And this so you can have an idea that what kind of behavior Islam expects and suggests to the Muslims and believers of Quran. That this kind of openness is needed for every single person. So today, sometimes I listen to this kind of nonsense voices from the Muslim youngsters and communities living with around the world. We want a Muslim rule. We want a Muslim state. We want a majority Muslim countries and stuff. So look at these 50, 55 Muslim countries of the world where they don't fight justice. Whereas living in these European countries, such a beautiful country of Italy, and many more European countries and Western countries where they get the justice, where they can practice their religion freely, where they can earn their living respectfully. And nobody questions their religion. They are free to do whatever they want. According to Islam, this is much more better place than that place which has a Muslim ruler but no justice. That country is much more better for Muslims than that country which has a Muslim majority but no better livings. According to Islam, that place is much more better for Muslims than that country where has no justice system. And you are being robbed, your respect, honor are not protected. But if for any case, if you go to a court, nobody is there to listen to your reasons. According, this is the definition of a better place in Quran for the people to live. The country with justice system. That is a better place for anyone. So there is no specific demand or description of the religion itself. So this is the openness. Quran and Islam is suggesting to the people and followers and believers of Islam. So dear audience, now look at some other interesting aspects. Now we some stories. So now some stories from the people who migrated to Abyssinia. So there is a beautiful tradition of Sayyida Salama later on, who became the wife of the Prophet of Islam, a very important lady in Islam. But she gave a beautiful narration about the life they lived in Abyssinia. Very important words. So she said that when we were living in Abyssinia, among the delegation, so she narrates an event that in Abyssinia, under the rule of Negus, the king of Abyssinia, they lived a peaceful life in peaceful environment. They were calm and unafraid, and they practiced their religious rituals fearlessly. The body of faithful abundantly worshipped God, something they had been unable to do previously while they were living in Mecca. Living in Christian land, in the midst of Christian population, the companions heard nothing there that might upset the Muslim community. What a beautiful culture from both sides. The Muslims living in the Christian country, and they said that whatever the time we lived there, no racism. We never ever heard a single word from every Christian living there and pointing anything out to us or any specific single word of hatred towards us. We lived in such a calmful manner. Everyone was respecting. We were fearlessly practicing our rituals. And on the other hand, the people, they were so nice with them. Today, if we look at our relationships, what has happened? Where we all have gone wrong? From where this hate speech, hatrages, biases have suddenly emerged? Where all that respect and love and tolerance has gone away? History suggests that the Christian country boasting Muslims and no discriminatory words. The Muslims suggesting and telling that we were much more happier there than our own country then. Then, not just that, then he suggests a beautiful story. He says that during our stay, once there was an uprising against the king Negus in the community. The people stood against King Negus, and then there was a big war against, and they were fighting Negus. Everyone was afraid. So he suggests that all the Muslims they came together, prayed and prayed King Negus, and they assisted King Negus to protect his state. So they were the migrants living in a non-Muslim country, protecting that state and king. The Christian state, Christian king, Muslims defending that state with their blood. It was the culture we see in that history. And they said that when the king Nagus, he won that war, we have never ever been happier than that day in our whole lives. Then the day when the Christian king, the Nagus, he won that war. And we all celebrated that day like the Yawmul Eid, like our Eid festival. Now the state is Christian state. The king is Christian. Muslims living here. So it seems to my Muslim brothers here. This is the message. You're living in these European countries, non-Muslim countries. So the Muslims, companions, and prophets suggesting the country who gives you living, the country who gives you respect, the country who gives you protection. So this is mandatory upon every single Muslim to respect the law and order of that country. And if anything bad happens to that country, to stand up and defend that country, stand for country, for the community, help them to protect their own country like your own country. Because that country is giving you respect, that country is giving you living, that country is giving you protection, that country is giving you justice in the world, and a nicer and better place to live there. So this is the preach of Islam that whichever country gives you respect and a better life, even if you have to defend that country with your life and blood, please do so. This is the message of Islam and not otherwise. Stay loyal to that country, always, who gives you a better life and justice system. This is Islam. And this is where we understand where this interfaith relation stands. Whosoever suggests otherwise, that is not Islamic. There could be anything but Islam. Whatever is Islam, Islam suggests about tolerance. Islam speaks about love. Islam speaks about respecting that country and the community who is giving you a better life. Uh, Dear audience, so this was one story from the life of the companions lived in Abyssinia, present-day Ethiopia. Now look at the other side. So now this is the Christians' behavior to Muslims, which was beautiful. Now, how Muslim reciprocated that behavior towards Christian. Again, the second part of the history. Once now the Muslims they were settled and they migrated to the state of Medina. They had their own country. So when the Muslims they migrated to Ethiopia, they did not have their country. So they were living in oppressed environment of Mecca. When they had their own country called Medina, so they all migrated back to Medina. And Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he became the head of the state. So now that was the time to reciprocate. Whatever the respect, love, and protection Christian country and population gave to Muslims, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciprocated. How? When the constitution of Medina was formed, so now, when the constitution of Medina was formed, so the first thing Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of Islam, did, he announced that from today onward, whosoever lives in the state of Medina, so major tribes were from the Jewish community, and of course, some Christians were living there. So, whosoever lives in the state of Medina, from today onward, you all are one nation. This was the first thing he declared everyone that you all are one nation. And he is interestingly the first person in the history. Please take a note. He was the first person in the history who actually declared people of different religions and faith as one nation. Before him, all religious communities were independently considered separate nations. But he removed those boundaries of religious obedience and he said that whosoever lives in Medina does not matter which religion you all belong to. You all belong to one nation. You all are one nation. Ummatul Wahid. That's what he said. So that was the beginning. And not just that. Now, during his during his uh, time and headship in Medina, the big delegation from Najran, another big state of Christian community. So they were not happy and unsettled. And now the Muslims, they had the power and rule. So the Christians of Najran, 60 Christian priests from Najran, they came and visited the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. 60 priests from Najran. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did a contract and pact with the 60 priests of Najran. So please, we will look now we will look at some of the articles of that pact and agreement which was done between Prophet of Islam and the 60 priests of Najran. So now he is reciprocating all that relation and respect towards other community. What that pact suggests? That Najran, that document is there in the history available. That document is called the Najran Covenant, which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam concluded, which begins like that. In the name of God. Now this pact starts like that. Now, in the name of God, the most compassionate, ever merciful. It is written on behalf of Muhammad, peace be upon him, for the priests of Abu al-Haris, that is the town in Najran, and for all those people who are affiliated with their division, their monkhoods, their places of worship and land of their religion. Before I enter into the details of the article, please listen these words again. Very important. The words are, this pact is being done not just with the priests of Najran, but with all those people as well who believe in their priests, who believe in their manhood, who believe in their positions. Beautiful, lovely concept. He could have simply done a pact and agreement with the priests and that's it. No, he is endorsing their positions. He was a powerful man then with a great empire. But then he is endorsing the positions of those priests and giving them respect. That this pact and protection is not just for the priests, but also for every single person who believe in their positions. So indirectly, he is endorsing their positions. So this is a very important aspect. Now we look at the details of further. Then he says that the suggest whatever the wealth they have, whether more or less, they will be its owner. It won't be taken from them. Its protection is the duty of God and God's messenger. The protection of the priests and their worship places Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is suggesting it is the protection of God and His Messenger to protect the worship places of the other religion. This is Islam. And then he says, no priest will be dismissed from his clerical state. No monk will be dismissed from his monkhood. No soothsayer will be dismissed from his office. The sovereignty of their rule will also not be changed. It is the responsibility of God and God's messenger to fulfill the contract provisions as long as these people remain good with God and remain loyal to this contract. Neither any oppression will them be accepted, nor any of them will be oppressed. This is the fact the Prophet of Islam has done with the 60 priests of Najran and the people who believe in them. Similarly, there is another beautiful pact, the last story before I move towards the end. That is a pact, we call it the pact between the Prophet of Islam and the people of the monastery of Saint Catherine in Egypt. So this the delegation from Najran. So they visited the Prophet of Islam in the fifth year of his migration to Medina. And this letter he wrote to the priests of the monastery of Saint Catherine. So that was in the sixth year of Hijrah, the sixth year of migration. So now listen to the words of that letter and agreement he wrote towards the priests of Saint Catherine. The second important point. He said, this is written on behalf of Prophet Muhammad, the messenger of God. With God's name I begin, who is the Lord of Solomon, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the words he started his writing. It also educates us that how to do our interfaith dialogue. It suggests a common grounds. So he could have simply said, who is the Lord of Muhammad? Because he himself is prophet. But then he said, no, I am writing on behalf of, this is a letter on behalf of Prophet Muhammad, who starts this letter with the name of Lord, who is not just the Lord of Muhammad, but also he is the Lord of Abraham, Lord of Isaac, Lord of Jacob. So the commonality is propagating. He is giving them the message of equality that the people you believe in, we also believe in that. We believe in the same Lord and God, whom your prophet believed in, whom we believe in. So he had established a common ground for interfaith dialogue and started his letter with these words, which could spread love and tolerance and give the common ground to speak on. So this is a beautiful message. Then the letter that it suggests the prophet gave this charter of privilege to the Christian community. It is a peace treaty of Saint Catherine, which was written in 6th Hijrah. References are not, the references were not acceptable. Interestingly, this whole letter is, the manuscript is available, framed, and it is available in today it is available in the monastery of Saint Catherine in Egypt. So the priest that is written by the prophet, it is framed and placed on the wall available there. Anybody can go and beautiful, elegant. And Sheikhul Islam, Professor Dr. Muhammad Tahir Qadri, my worthy father, so he has actually got that copy of that letter and translated, and now that is available in his books. So the same Catherine, when he said that the fact says the beautiful points, it says, in the name of God, the most compassionate, ever merciful, I seek help from the God of earth. Then it mentions that his conduct is on behalf of God and his messenger. Then it states, no compulsion on any type will be placed on them, on the priest. Neither any priest will be removed from his place of worship, nor any monk will be dismissed from his monkhood. The contract emphasizes the points that neither any worshipper will be removed from his place of worship, nor any tourist will be removed or stopped from his place of worship or tourism. None of their houses and their churches will be demolished. None of their houses. So he is instructing. So none of their houses and churches will be demolished. And dear audience, a beautiful last sentence of this fact, which concludes this letter, Salami. Beautiful. That says that this fact is not for the present times. He said that the Prophet of Islam has done this fact with the Christian community till the day of judgment. So whosoever till the day of judgment comes as a Muslim, he has to be obeying this fact which your Prophet has done with the priests of monastery of Catherine. So whatever the time it takes, till the day of judgment. This fact should be honored by the Muslims till the day of judgment, which has been done with the Christian community. So then it says, neither any wealth from the churches will be used for the construction of mosques. Can you imagine what it is suggested? What to talk about converting the churches into mosques or converting other worship places into mosques? The Prophet of Islam is saying that whatever, if the places are for churches, they should stay as churches. They should be respected. No wealth or things should be used to construct mosques. Then it says that used to construct mosques, not the building of Muslim houses. So whatever is from the Christian houses or churches, the material or anything should not be stolen for them to build mosques and their houses. So they should stay as they are and respected and protected. And he said, the protection for these churches are by the God and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was it. Then he says, then no security taxes will no security taxes will not be imposed on the monks. So he made all the monks and priests, religious people of Christian community tax free. Their own. So this is out of respect for the other religion. You are making the priests and monks of other religion tax free. No tax will be upon you because you are doing the great noble work for this for the God. So that's what the announcement. Then it states there are many other examples of relief and all. Similarly, another interesting point mentioned in this fact is that if someone marries a Christian lady, it is written in this letter. If someone marries a Christian lady, no one should force a lady to convert into Islam. They say the pact, the contract. So no lady, because she has married to a Muslim man. So the man starts forcing that lady to convert into Islam. He has stopped that person to do so. He said that should be upon that lady's sweet will if she want to convert to Islam or not. So nobody should force that lady because now she is married to a Muslim man, so one should convert. This is Islam. This is the beauty of Islam. What we have done today, and what kind of Islam we are presenting today to our next generation, and what kind of tolerant behavior we are propagating. Intolerance is there everywhere. The real message of Islam, the real message of Prophet of Islam, the real message of Quran is not there. Dear audience, today, Minhajul Quran International, an international organization seriously working towards interfaith relation, interfaith dialogue, respect for humanity, love for humanity, and of course, spreading the message of Islam on these lines, which we have just discussed. This organization, founded by Sheikhul Islam, Professor Dr. Muhammad Qadri, a beautiful organization working for education, educating people through institutions, through research work, through seminars, through conferences, through educational programs, and propagating the tolerance among the community, interfaith relations, interfaith dialogue. That, and not just that, in Pakistan, Minhajul Quran International has become a foundation for interfaith relations. All these living communities in Pakistan now will enjoy a beautiful relationship between Muslim. Many Muslim issues are still there, but we still enjoy a beautiful relationship. Can you imagine? Muslims in Pakistan now they celebrate Christmas and invite their Christian brothers and sisters. And on the other hand, when the birth of Prophet of Islam comes, the day of the birth of Prophet of Islam, so the Christians they celebrate the birthday of the Prophet of Islam in their churches there. I have myself personally attended many such gatherings in various churches of Pakistan celebrating the birthday of Prophet of Islam. And similarly, The Muslims celebrate Christmas for them. They help each other construct the houses. They help each other construct the mosques. Recently, there were some damages to the churches, and the Muslim organization they fundraised and helped churches to be reconstructed there. So this is the kind of relationship. So whatever goes on, I must say it's political. People at large they should understand. Religions, no religion talks about hatred. No religion talks about discrimination. Religions are for love, for respect of humanity, for educating love and respect and tolerance. And not just that, the university I come from, Minhaj University, Lahore, it's one of the topmost fast-growing universities of Pakistan, which has a huge student body, studying in 150 degree programs, varying from social sciences to engineering to sciences, humanities, and everything. And many foreigners, they are residing on campus and teaching there. So one of the important programs propagating this idea and vision, there is a department which was established at Minhaj University. You all are welcome to visit the website and study and look at the works of that university. The department is called School of Religion and Philosophy. School of Religion and Philosophy. So here are the this is the Quran and the university. So the School of Religion and Philosophy. So what we have done there in Pakistan, other than Muslims, three other religious communities they live there. Christian, Hindu, and Sikh community. So these three other religious communities they live in Pakistan in big number. Other than around 25 million people of other faith they live in Pakistan other than Muslims. Minhaj University has established this department, and you will be amazed to know that this is the first department in the country where Christians they can simply walk in and they can do their degree program, their bachelor, their master in Bible studies. Hindu community, they walk in, they do their degree programs in Hinduism. Sikh, they come and they do a degree program in Sikhism. This might not fascinate or attract people living in European countries because it's very multicultural, multidimensional. It's very open Muslims walking into these universities and doing their degree in their own religion. But that wasn't the case in Pakistan. So it was the Minhaj University's initiative that they have opened up a university for all these religions. And the interesting thing what we have done is we have made sure that Hinduism will be taught by Hindu professors only. Christianity will be taught by Christian professors only. And Sikhism will be taught by Sikhism. It's not Muslim teaching Christianity or Christian teaching Islam. So person who belong to that religion, they will be teaching that religion on. So that there are no biases, no comparison, and strictly that degree is taught to educate people in that specific religion. So that has made a lot of changes and achieved a lot in our society and brought the religious communities together and facilitated the beautiful, lovable environment of these religious communities in Pakistan. And now, recently, a beautiful incident happened, which I would like to share. Now, in Minhaj University, the topper of Islamic Studies department, the student who tops into the highest scorer of Islamic Studies department, he gets the gold medal and award by the Sikh community of Pakistan. Not just that. Similarly, now a topper of another department, he gets a gold medal and and award from the Christian community of Pakistan. So similarly, the Muslim giving awards to the Christians, Sikhs, and they reciprocating each other. And that has tremendously established a beautiful culture of interfaith relation and life. And this all has happened on these basic grounds. Because when we all speak about the basic text of the religion, So we sit together there and tell them, okay, let's talk about the basic text. If text suggests discrimination, please discriminate. If text doesn't suggest the discrimination and it suggests otherwise, then these are our personal behaviors and biases. We have to get rid of them and do according to what other religious texts suggest. Which suggests love, which suggests tolerance, which suggests harm. And last but not least, one thing which I always tell and suggest to our brothers and sisters, always we use the word while dealing with interfaith relations and dialogue. We always use the word we need tolerance. We need tolerance as a society, or we need to spread the culture of tolerance as a society. I disagree with it because the word tolerance, this word itself has prevalence or a smell of hatred. You use this word only when you don't like someone, but for some reason you are being forced to tolerate someone. The coexistence is not liked, but for some reason we have to do. So, for that kind of culture, tolerance is the right word. But if you have to flourish in this world, to spread peace, love, harmony, tolerance is not the way forward. The way forward is respect and love. First, start respecting each other, respect each other's religion, respect each other's traditions, respect each other. Then the point will come, you will love each other's tradition, you will love each other's behaviors. That would be the point when again the society will turn into the society which 1400 years ago Ethiopia was under the governance of Negus. And which 1400 years ago the Medina was under the headship of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, not last but not least, again, I would like to thank the dear professor and brother for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on Islamic perspective on interfaith relation. Uh, I hope was able to do justice to the topic, but there is always much more to say, deliver, that will continue. And I wish you good luck, especially the students of the religious department. You all have studied this. It is a long life in front of you. I hope that you become a beacon of light to spread love and understanding of our life. Thank you very much. Sometimes, yes, yes, question answers. Our slide says question answers. Yes, certainly. And I would suggest if for the question answers, we could leave the slots for the students. So better, yeah. So my question is, recently we received a very new global effects. For example, in the last 2 weeks, that's not the game two affected under victims, not if I remember. Where was that? Yes. It's, there was some attacks bombing against communities in the past. And also in the past. Okay, okay, yeah. So my question is, why these events are happening in Pakistan? Lack to cover historical is very spread. It is also very well received in Pakistan. And what steps the government
is taking again this serious issue. Is there a problem? Is there a growing problem Islamic reform or not? And the perception of the people also about this issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. Yes, Pakistan has been a victim of terrorism for a very long time, especially after the 9/11. And Pakistan has lost over 100,000 lives because of terrorism. So, as we all know, terrorism has many reasons. One of the major reasons is the politics of the country, border, and strategic situations. As we all know, there are, Pakistan is a very strategically placed country, sharing the border with India, sharing the border with Afghanistan, sharing the border with Iran and China. Very strategically placed country. And there are so many things going on in the world. Whenever the political turbulence comes, so they usually use the name, the Islamic name, use that's what they do. But I always consider them, they are politically motivated actions, but under the name of Islam. So which really brings a bad name to religion as well and the community at large as well. So recent is bomb blasts and other things. So we had a very peaceful, quiet time for a very long time. So recently, some new developments, especially emergence of some new groups in Afghanistan, that has again started these things in Pakistan. So I believe the political change in Afghanistan has restarted these things in Pakistan. So it has a political background and understanding. Now, how these people, yes, Sufi Islam and Sufi school is very much influential and followed very well in Pakistan. But then the government, they are taking their measures, tightening up the security and following up with the groups. But then, of course, this is kind of a disease in the society and many parts of the world which cannot be eliminated in days. But that needs a complete comprehensive strategy. And I'm sure the government is working on it and they will be able to control sooner or later. Yeah. So, any other questions? If anybody wants to ask in Italian, I won't understand, but Professor will understand. He will translate.
Considerazione del potente mentre si convincono magari c'è qualche considerazione da parte di Gabriele di
I would like to thank Maulana Sheikh Qadri for this intervention, and I could say it has been an honor to be a student of him, of his day, even for only 1 hour. And I will take the opportunity to make a question, something we had the opportunity to discuss briefly previously, but also to benefit the audience. What kind of suggestions you could give to the local communities, in Islamic communities in the West, in terms of education or to reconnect with this rich tradition? And also, which kind of suggestions you could give to a student, maybe even a non-master student like in Italian university, to go along with these searches and studies of interfaith relations.
This is a very important question. Two aspects. So first, I will take the second part of the question, which was the suggestion for the students of religions, and if they are taking it as a career. So what could be the approach that they? So my suggestion would be the three I have discussed in my talk, three major dimensions to look at the interfaith relations. So this would be my suggestion as well to all the students. And this is what I always share with the students of our Department of School of Religion and Philosophy at Minhaj University, Lahore. I always tell them, don't just go into studying the contemporary literature, right? Please do that, that is necessary. But then always look into the text yourself. Please try and read the books written by the authors of the same religion. It's not me writing about Christianity, Muslim author writing about Christianity, or a Christian author writing about Islam or spirituality, or a Jewish author interpreting or writing about the history. Maybe that author is popular, but then of course every single human being has their own biases. Nobody can say that I am bias free and I am truly independent and liberal. Human beings are for biases. There are biases. Maximum one can achieve is minimum number of biases. So everyone is there with the biases. So whenever you study about religion, about anything, the right and good quality researcher would be that they will directly go and listen through the horse's mouth. It means go and study the original literature. Maybe that could be the translation, but read through the original literature, what they suggest, and then try and read a couple of other versions of the same concept as a good researcher. Then you will have a better idea. And always look at this whole phenomenon from three dimensions. Their religious texts, what the history suggests, the thing is the religious mindset from where you are led. These three things would always help you and guide you in this specific path. And this path is important one, much needed into this form. Favor is full of intolerance, hatred, and discomforts and fears. So the people like you who are studying religion, working for the peace, so that will always be helpful and pregnant like a flowers in this society. And then second part, the first one was uh, advice on Muslims and youngsters living in Italy. What is needed is to integrate with the society. First one, you cannot live within the society by keeping yourself isolated. You will never become a part of society. Now, of course, your next generation will are integrated with the society then. And the belief and concept is very important. There are two aspects. One is called assimilation, one is called integration. Assimilation and integration. What we all propagate is integration and not assimilation. Assimilation means resembling everything and copying everything. That is assimilation. That is not possible. People coming from different religious backgrounds, they have their own identities. They will say like that. We have to respect our own identities as well as respecting others' identities too. So the call is not to get rid of our own identity. This whole world cannot have one identity. This would be it cannot be possible. So all the identities will remain as different identities. But what is propagated and suggested is integrating. Integrating means keeping your own identity. And then working on common grounds, interacting with each other, respecting each other, spreading the word of love. This is integration. And for that purpose, the first thing which is needed to the Muslim community, I would suggest, try and get your maximum literature for every age bracket into Italian language. That is very important. You will not be able to introduce yourself in a right manner to the community without having your real literature in the local language. So the maximum amount of literature you could bring into the local language, that would only introduce you to the local community in the right way. Second thing, while selecting the books to translate, be sensible advice. Always go for those books which you actually want your children to teach. The peaceful books which would teach interfaith relations, harmony, respect, children education, basics of Islam, which could produce a peaceful Muslim, respectful Muslim, and not the one full of hatred, not the one full of rigidity. Bring that kind of literature and translate them into Italian language, which could help the youngster. That is something which I would suggest. And third thing I would suggest, whatever the organization institutions are working, try and organize maximum seminars, activities, conferences, events like this more often, but in local languages. I am sorry, I don't know Italian, but you can find some good speakers in Italian as well, so that they can introduce and speak on these topics more often in these seminars. And trying to make those seminars more interactive, bring the locals as well, so that you can introduce your literature, your works. What I have learned in last so many years working in this area of interfaith relations, one thing I have learned, whatever the misunderstanding prevails in this world, that is because of ignorance. People doesn't know much about each other. That becomes the main reason. They only understand and learn about any religion through media. Media have all their own bias and agenda. Always. Media channel, they have their own agendas. They have their businesses, they get their advertisements, and so many reasons. So you never ever give you 100% ears to media on. So, and people are ignorant. They don't know much about the religions. So whatever they listen from the media, they try and believe in it. And then they make their mindset accordingly. Misinformation and ignorance about each other becomes the major reasons of distance among each other. But I have witnessed as soon, for example, the brother sitting here from the Italian local community. If by any chance you have a Muslim friend, yes, some might have a Muslim friend, but sometimes they are illiterate in religion like anyone else sometimes. They won't be much of help. But if someone has a friend from a religious community, then they spend some good time together and then they learn about each other. I have seen people 100% changing their heart and still respecting others' other traditions. For example, we see a Sikh community from India. They wear turbans, specific style of dress. So if someone doesn't know the tradition, why they wear a specific turban? Someone might feel funny. Someone may consider it little funny. But then as soon you would speak to that person, spend some time with them, you will find they are such a nice people in their personality, sweet people, helping people. And then they will also tell you about the story, why they are wearing turban. And then you will find a beautiful story behind that thing. you will suddenly start respecting that tradition. You would know who people are. Similarly, if you come across a Muslim community, you meet a lady with a hijab or head cover, or a man with a cap. So someone might feel uh, different. But then once you make friends with them, you spend time with them, you will see they are beautiful, nice people, loving people, respectful, caring people, more responsible people. And then you would simply ask them, why do you cover your head? Why do you put your cap on? They might tell you some interesting story behind it. You maybe that story appeals you, and you suddenly start respecting and loving that tradition. So this is what happens when you interact with each other. This is what I suggest. Integration means interacting with each other. If you stay within your own brackets and you do not integrate, you will not be able to educate people about it. Always try and integrate, but do not assimilate, integrate. Respectfully integrate with each other, educate others, introduce yourself, your religion, your tradition to others, and try and learn their traditions as well. Try and learn their attitudes, their behaviors, their cultures, their festivals. Try and learn. So these are little small practices which makes this whole society beautiful place to live. These are small, small little things, but when they all come together, they can make this place like heaven. Thank you very much.
Grazie ancora per fare, se ci sono ancora delle domande.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. My name is Ron from Oxford. We are here to see you of the people.
Okay, we have international audience too from Switzerland. Thank you very much.
So that we have already was very complicated. And so my last question is to come to my mind from the education system. It's still relevant in this modern world. Do you think we are not able to cope in that? Because I give you this typical example. It recently happened in Switzerland. My son is the student education online top of the paradigm and so the kids communicating realize this interest in learning Islam, define Islam, told me that and Burma. So the question is important.
Yes, this is a very, very good question. So, I have partially addressed this question in my previous answer. That's what I've said. Create your own literature. It belongs to this country and that's the religion. Of course, religious education and not just the religious education, every single curriculum book, every single, for example, the professor is teaching some religious subject here. So in the university, the expiry, what is the expiry date here? University that you have to change the book of the curriculum.
Just repeat the question.
Usually one book when it is suggested as a course book. But for how long it is suggested before you change it and then new book come up?
For some years, 2, 3 years.
2 3 years, yeah. So the maximum expiry date of the curriculum book for the university is 5 years.
Yes.
Nothing more than that. So after 5 years, you have to bring a new book of that subject and teach the students. Same thing happens to every single subject, including religion. Religion is no different. So the point is, there is the problem is not with the religion. The problem is with us. We are lazy. We don't produce the new literature, which is more relevant to the 21st century, to the people. We are lazy. We don't produce. So the problem is not with the literature. So that's why when I said that, it is very important. So to make it easy, the people working in the mosque, what do? They go to Pakistan, they go to India, they go to Arab. So they bring books from there, old books. Cannot books for the youngsters can be produced here in this country, in Europe, and then they can be translated. I would like to mention and congratulate. I mean, Hajj Quran International UK has done a wonderful job. They have prepared the whole big curriculum from a European mindset, dealing with the youngsters and children living in Europe. This was initially printed in UK, but now translated in many other languages of the Europe. The same thing this morning I was suggesting to the brothers here in Italy as well. And then thing I would like to suggest, please coordinate with the people, get those books and get them translated. Or if they are translated in the relevant languages of Switzerland, so they'll be helpful. So instead of we just raise voice, get them translated, become part of reform, become a change agent, and take that translated set of literature and give that to the Imam. Please from tomorrow teach the children from this book. So this is what is needed. Of course, every book needs to be changed. And if the scholars they start working in Europe, they will not need to import the literature from Pakistan and from other parts of the world. So they will have their own European Islamic literature to be taught to the youngsters. So it is basic principles cannot be changed. It's Islam or any religion would have. The way of interpreting or presenting the idea changes. That changes according to the generation and ages. That's why every generation needs new literature. So when scholars are there, like Brother Gabriel and everyone and professor and all, when the professors, the scholars are here, so this is, I believe, it's responsibility of that community that they need to come up with the research. So things can change, certainly. And Minhajul Quran at large has contributed towards it in a very wonderful manner. So there were some books there which were very old Islamic literature. But Shaykhul Islam himself and the whole big team, they have all together changed the curriculum of religious seminaries for the first time after 300 years. Big contribution they have made. But I would say still those things will get old after 5 years. What we will do? Right mark will be when you will start producing and reviewing and renewing your literature in these countries where you are living. And that cannot happen in Pakistan, that cannot happen in Morocco. That will only happen here in Italy when the local scholars will do that. And at one point more, what is the reason behind why Pakistan is not producing such a intellectual level scholars like you who are brilliant? We heard the long and the Dr. Cyril Qadri, where you are, the Dr. Hussain Mohi-ud-Din. Why the Pakistan whole Islamic system and more but Pakistan. So I don't see that. The main reason is on a lighter note. Then it's simple. You go to the factories, so the type of raw material you feed to the machine, the other side will produce that kind of. If the raw material is of low quality, you cannot achieve a better quality from the other side of the machine. So you will only receive the same quality. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, in many Muslim countries, all those intelligent boys and girls, they pray, they become doctors.